Hello everyone and welcome to another All Sports Now YouTube video. If it's your first time here, first thanks for clicking on the video. My name is Corey. Welcome to week 7 of the weekly NFL series picks. I think that it's going pretty well so far, but last week was a little bit rough to say the least. We went 9-5. The Titans completely shocked everybody by beating Buffalo in what was an absolute thriller. For those of you who missed it, Buffalo decided to go for it inside of the 10. It was almost a goal-to-go situation, but instead of kicking a field goal to send the game to overtime, McDermott basically said, I've seen enough of Derrick Henry for the day. He was absolutely slaughtering every defender in his path, so they just decided to go for it. They failed, and Tennessee won the game, so that was a huge upset in prime time as well. So with that, we're 9-5. We would have been 10-4, but I'm not too sour about it. 63-31 on the season is not too shabby. Before we get going on this video, make sure that you like it, watch the whole thing, and subscribe to the channel. We're getting very, very close to 100 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who's supporting us so far. But with that being said, I need all of you to spread the word on this channel. We're growing at a fast rate, and it'll stay at that rate if you can spread the word for me. So I'd really appreciate it if you do that, along with liking this video as well. The first game that we're going to tackle, pun intended I guess, is going to be a weird one. It's a Denver Broncos team that I really don't believe in, and a Cleveland Browns team that is reduced to a practice squad. The Broncos have not beaten a team with a win going into their matchup yet, and Cleveland is missing Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, David Njoku possibly, Jadeveon Clowney possibly, definitely Jarvis Landry who's on the IR, and possibly Odell Beckham Jr., and then a few offensive linemen as well. So we're going to be seeing Case Keenum lead a bunch of new players out there. And although I love to go up against Denver because I honestly think they might go like 5-12 this year after going 3-0 to start out against a bunch of teams that are not proving themselves and they're just not good at this point in the season, I have to go with Denver. They don't have a whole lot of injuries. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams have been rather productive out of the backfield. Courtland Sutton's been very good as a wide receiver 1 in Jerry Jeudy's absence, and Teddy Bridgewater's doing his job. This offense in general just isn't very cohesive, but I think they're going to be able to get the job done against a very battered Cleveland team. The next matchup I'm going to jump over to is the Kansas City Chiefs against the Tennessee Titans. That Titans team, they're rolling. I think they're going to keep rolling. Look, Kansas City's got a great offense, but Patrick Mahomes has thrown just as many interceptions as he has played in games over the course of the last calendar year, or it's roughly around there. ESPN is keeping an eye on that for sure, as they love to talk about Patrick Mahomes. But Tennessee looks amazing, and considering the fact that they're going up against one of the worst defenses in the league, and they might get A.J. Brown back, this is recorded a couple days before Sunday in order for me to make this Thursday pick, so I'm not sure if A.J. Brown will be back. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think that Tennessee's just going to be too much for Kansas City to handle. Look, Tennessee went up against one of the best, if not the best defense in the league in Buffalo last week, and Derrick Henry plowed them every single time. Micah Hyde was looking like a fool out there. He was the last one in Derrick Henry's path, which I would not want to be at all. That was a very scary sight to see. Derrick Henry's going to plow over this team. Ryan Tannehill has been actually calling his own number on a couple plays and rushing the ball a bit more, and the offense always flows better when he does that. So I'm going to take Tennessee in a very high-scoring game for this one because neither defenses are very productive. The next game we have is one that I think could get out of hand pretty quickly. Green Bay is firing on all cylinders. They had a good challenge in Chicago last week, but Washington's defense is just looking pathetic. They went up against Kansas City, who is actually struggling to find their stride going into last week and got absolutely ran over. I expect Aaron Rodgers to use Devontae Adams a ton, and Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon have been phenomenal out of the backfield. Tonyan is starting to get more usage. That defense is going to get stronger and stronger, especially with the recent addition of Jalen Smith. So I think that this one could get out of hand. We're talking blowout potential here because I have Green Bay by a lot. Next game we have is a good old AFC North rivalry matchup, and I'm going to go with Baltimore on this one. A couple of weeks ago, I definitely wouldn't have, but Lamar Jackson, I'm sorry guys, he has to be front runner for the MVP. I stated it last week. I'm going to say I said it before it was cool, and then ESPN kind of grabbed my headline and said, yeah, Lamar Jackson's the MVP going into week 7. I said it going into week 6 after his performance against that Indianapolis Colts team with a little over a quarter left to go when they were down like 3 possessions, and he brought them back. He had a phenomenal performance against the Los Angeles Chargers, who I had winning this high-scoring matchup, and it ended up not being a high-scoring matchup. Along with Lamar Jackson being amazing on this offense, I have learned that with Calais Campbell and many other weapons on this defense, that Baltimore's defense is phenomenal. They're getting timely blocked field goals. They're getting timely sacks. They're not only pressuring the quarterback, but also their secondary is showing up quite a bit. So overall, Baltimore is a really strong team. They deserve to be 5-1, and Lamar's definitely helping the cause, but he's slowly getting help around him, especially on the other side of the ball as well. I think Joe Burrow is really hitting his stride. Jamar Chase has looked amazing. T. Higgins, obviously. Tyler Boyd. Joe Mixon has looked okay. He's been getting a little more reps than he needs to because his backup has been out because of COVID. So I think it's going to be a decently high-scoring game, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked at the same time if Baltimore keeps this Cincinnati offense at bay. They did it to the Chargers. I think they can do it to the Bengals as well. And I think Lamar is quite literally going to run away with this one. The next matchup shouldn't be close, but it actually might end up being close because Carolina has been playing odd. They started out 3-0, lost CMC, have been 0-3 since. Chuba Hubbard has been mostly filling his role, but the offense just looks different. This is an offense that doesn't just run CMC out of the backfield. They also pass it to him sometimes 10 to 15 times a game. More times than not, at certain spans in the season, he is actually their leading receiver. They have been using DJ Moore here and there. Robbie Anderson is still not there. He's not being used. The targets aren't even there, so he's not even being able to have the opportunities to produce on this team. They're 3-3 after starting 3-0. I do think they'll get away with this one, though. Daniel Jones is playing at like 80-90%. Saquon Barkley is still out after an ankle injury. Darius Slayton's in and out. Kenny Galladay's in and out. These are a lot of questionables that I'm naming right now. I'm not sure if they're going to be in the game or not, but I don't think it matters because the defense is Swiss cheese, and I think that this is going to be a good recovery game. Despite the fact that it is in New York, Carolina's going to take care of business. Sam Darnold should have a big day against this struggling New York Giants secondary. The next matchup I'm going to cover is between the Atlanta Falcons and the Miami Dolphins. Dare I say it, I don't think this is a playoff matchup, at least this year, maybe a few years down the road or even a couple years down the road, but not in 2021. The Falcons defense is Swiss cheese, and Miami is just struggling. They just lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They gave Urban Meyer his first win in the NFL as the Jaguars head coach. The Jaguars are an okay team. I don't think they should have been 0-5 going into that matchup, but Miami is at a low point, to say the least. With that being said, they looked pretty good with Tua Tagovailoa back out there. He really was firing on all cylinders anytime he was throwing towards his former Alabama teammate, Jalen Waddle, so I think that can go really well for them. As for the backfield situation, Myles Gaskin and about 4 other guys are getting the ball. And I feel like just the way that Brian Flores is running this offense, it's not allowing any back to actually get going in a certain flow. It's just disrupting the flow, in my opinion, and I think that's very detrimental to the flow of this offense, especially with Tua in there. This becomes a more run-heavy offense. He was throwing a lot. Obviously, they're behind for some of the games, so they have to throw a lot in order to claw their way back in, but it just doesn't look like Miami's identity. Gesicki's looked okay. Fuller has been in and out. There's a lot of instability on this team, but I think that they can take advantage against this very weak Atlanta offense. Matt Ryan's had a decent year. Calvin Ridley will be back in the lineup, but there's even more uncertainty going on over in Atlanta right now. Despite being 2-3, their 2 wins have not been against impressive teams. The defense is still horrible. I think I've said that like 5 times now, and I say it every week of the year until it actually changes. It just hasn't been a priority in the draft or in the free agency period or by the trade deadline. They just keep adding offensive pieces. This year it was Kyle Pitts, and they're going to pay for it. Miami's going to make them pay for it and get their second win of the year. This next matchup should be a blowout. I've seen a ton of really impressive growth from Mac Jones this year. Everybody was calling him check down Mac the first couple of weeks, but he had arguably his most impressive performance yet. Last week against the Cowboys, it was a tough overtime loss, but let's be honest, the Cowboys have a lot more talent on their team than this recovering New England team. And I'm really impressed by New England. Are they 2-4? Yes, but this is their rebuilding period, and their rookie quarterback is looking better than any of the other rookie quarterbacks out there at this moment. It's a small sample size, but Mac Jones looks very confident. Zach Wilson and that team are coming off of a bye week. Obviously, they have Corey Davis out there, Berrios. Michael Carter is starting to evolve as the number 1 back there, and the defense has been somewhat respectable, but I was very impressed to see what Mac Jones did against a rather respectable Dallas Cowboys defense last week, and I think he's just going to make a mess of this Jets defense, and the Jets offense does not have the tools, the personnel, or the play calling ability to really respond. So I think that this one will get out of hand. It's in Foxborough, and New England's going to take care of business. This next matchup is Upset City. A lot of people are going to pick the Las Vegas Raiders on this one, and I wouldn't blame them for doing so, but I have to stop doubting this Philadelphia Eagles team. They beat the Atlanta Falcons when I said they would lose to them in their opener in week 1 this season. They made it extremely close against the Chiefs team. They made it extremely close against the defending champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So those are the two teams that faced each other in the Super Bowl last year. And here this horrible Eagles team is making it actually competitive in both of those games. And they also beat a struggling Panthers team that still had a winning record going into the matchup. This is the perfect storm. Yes, they're on the road, but they're going up against a Las Vegas Raiders team that is out of a head coach. They've got somebody filling in. The backfield is a little weird. It's kind of awkward just seeing them throw Josh Jacobs in there, then Peyton Barber, then a little bit of Kenyon Drake, who's actually falling into the third spot in their depth chart, despite it actually not being true. He's not getting reps. It seems like Barber's getting used more times than he is. Collectively, they're about even. But nonetheless, I think that this is the perfect storm for an offense in Philadelphia that is really starting to catch their stride. Yes, it's a little awkward that Jalen Hurts is still the team's leading rusher going into Week 7. I have to admit, that's very peculiar because I personally think he's a really good pocket passer. Can he run? Absolutely. He's one of the more athletic quarterbacks in his draft class and in the league right now. However, he's a good pocket passer. He knows how to step up into the pocket, go through his progressions, and then run if he needs to. There's just a lot more design run plays than I think are personally necessary. I think it's putting him in harm's way. He's a tough cookie, so he hasn't been hurt yet. But Sirianni needs to protect his young quarterback here and have him throw out of the pocket more. Devontae Smith has been getting utilized more and more, and I feel like the more that he gets put into this offense, the more they succeed. And I see them going up against a very befuddled Las Vegas Raiders team and taking care of business on the road. I've got the Eagles in an upset on this one. Yes, they're the third best team in the NFC East right now. Obviously, the Giants are dead last, so they're kind of fighting with Washington for that second spot at the moment. But they're a solid team. They have a very good offense, and this young secondary is showing maturity against top-tier teams like the Chiefs and the Bucs that I previously mentioned. So I'm impressed, and I'm going to give them credit going into this matchup. I think they're going to grab it. This next matchup, man, this Detroit Lions team, they cannot get a break. I was on somebody's radio show over here in Oshkosh, 90.3 WRST FM Oshkosh, shouting them out. It's on Johnny Sam's show, and he asked me if the Lions are going to go 0-17 this year. This was about 2 weeks ago. I said, and I quote, "They're not bad enough. They'll get a couple games. Their schedule is not helping them. They just got off a brutal loss to a high-flying Bengals team that is doing amazing this year, and now they're going against the Rams. Poor Lions. I promise Dan Campbell is doing a decent job, but they're going to be 0-7 after this week, and especially once they get around that 0-10 area, you really have to start wondering, is it going to happen again? My goodness, are they going to repeat 2008? Which, by the way, is the last season that this team did not have Matthew Stafford. So if they somehow go 0-16 and then this year 0-17 without Matthew Stafford, with his tenure being that 12 to 13 year period in between, that's going to be a weird stat, but probably a big ego boost to him. Speaking of Matthew Stafford, he's going against his previous team here with all of his weapons. I think he's angry to be a part of an organization that ruined Megatron, that ruined Barry Sanders, and nearly ruined him if he didn't get out on time. And it's time for him to take his anger out on his old organization. I'm sure he had some good memories with people, but there was not a lot of success there. And now that he's finally on a team that's willing to set him up for success and has the weapons to help him succeed in general, it may get ugly. And I think he's okay with that. And it's going to be at home for him. So it's not a visit to Ford Field, but he'll still grab the win. The Chicago Bears against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the next matchup I'm going to break down. I'll just put it this way, okay? I think that Tom Brady will remember how many downs there are this time. For those of you who don't remember, last year these two teams played. The Bears grinded out a win by 1 point, and at the end of the game, Tom Brady threw the ball away and then lined up as if it wasn't fourth down when he threw the ball away. So it was a turnover on downs, and he thought it was third down. So he thought he had one more down. Does that mean he would have made a different decision before and not thrown the ball away? I don't know. Probably. You would think so for Mr. Six-time champion. Things are different now. Justin Fields is still developing. I think that this Bears team is going to be operating with a huge sense of anger ever since Aaron Rodgers declared himself the new owner of the Chicago Bears. I'm still hurt on that one. I'm not going to lie. I'm a Bears fan, and that just did not feel good to look at. Nonetheless, Tampa Bay's got too many weapons. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronkowski's out, but O.J. Howard's been doing all right. Rojo's not getting used, but you know who is? Leonard Fournette, and he's looking like a top 10 running back right now. There's not much to say on this matchup. I feel like the Bears secondary has been holding up rather well, but they are going to struggle against this loaded Tampa Bay offense, and the Bears offense, which has been really struggling to get points, is not going to be able to keep up. The next matchup I'll cover is the Arizona Cardinals against the Houston Texans. Not much to say about this one either. Kyler Murray. Not the front runner for me, that's Lamar Jackson, but one of the MVP candidates is going to have a day with Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, James Conner out of the backfield because Chase Edmonds has been nursing a shoulder injury. So for you fantasy owners, James Conner will probably be getting the bulk of the carries. So just keep that in mind. And Davis Mills is going to be in for a rough one against this Arizona defensive line that features Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt. It's not going to be a fun day for him. So Arizona by 200 points. You heard it here first. San Francisco's coming off of a bye, and so is Indianapolis pretty much because they just played the Texans and routed them like 31-3. Sorry, Texans fans. It's a rough one right now for you. You'll get through it, but your team's not good. Jimmy Garoppolo is questionable in this one, but regardless of who's under center, I think that this Indianapolis Colts defense is too battered. Carson Wentz has been looking sharper, but he still lacks confidence, and they are yet to beat a legitimate team. And as a result, I have the San Francisco defense making this an ugly one. But regardless of who's under center, I think that San Francisco is going to get away with this one at home. I am not going to cover this very interesting matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Geno Smith-led Seahawks. It's a weird team. Russell Wilson played for 9 years before missing a game, and now he's going to have to miss about 4 or 5. But if you see him in pregame, he's still practicing with his left hand, so the grind never stops for Russ. In order to see my Monday Night Football picks for this game, you'll have to follow me on Instagram at all.sportsnow. That'll be in the description, or it's actually on the graphic right below me here. I do a weekly pick series just for the Monday Night Football games with Kyle Davis from the Davis Sports Feud. Make sure you subscribe to him on YouTube. He's got some great content coming out as well, along with AJ Alessio, who is a Division III football linebacker. And right now, I believe we're 4-2, 4-2, and 3-3. We all had the Bills last week. Nonetheless, that will be coming out on Monday evening, right ahead of the game. So if you want to see my picks for that, make sure you follow us on social media. That's all I have for this video. We are going to be doing some NBA power rankings. I'm still determining the frequency that those videos will be coming out at because I'm still doing these NFL weekly videos as well. And then I'll be doing some other fun stuff on the side to try and get 1 to 2, maybe sometimes 3 videos out a week. Nonetheless, make sure you stay updated. Make sure you hit the bell next to All Sports Now on YouTube to get the post notifications because we're posting at least once a week with this pick series along with some other content as well. Make sure you listen to the podcast and get ready for some more content on this channel that is constantly growing. Spread the word. We're almost at 100. I appreciate all the support so far, but I know we can keep growing. And with that, I'm done. I'll see you in the next video right here on All Sports Now.
But you know that I'm still overthinking.